this is exciting for me and for us and for the project. So we are a ways along on the refit of King's Pride, and I'm here with Jennifer King, come to find out, and she is going to share the story about this boat and why it's connected to Skagit Valley College. And so it was super cool. We looked at like 2 boats, a Pacific Sea Craft, and something else that I don't even remember right now. And then you came into the shop and you were teaching electronics and said, well, if you want to buy an offshore sailboat, I've got one, right?
I did.
So
I did. Yeah, we grew up on the boat, but unfortunately hadn't been using it much in the last few years, and just with time and money didn't have either. And so unfortunately had to make that decision to sell the boat, and I figured that would be the best place to sell it to would be a school to help train the future generation.
Yeah, I think, and we love the training part, but I also love your family connection, because you know your father, who built this boat, knew at the time where it was going, and it was going to get a new life to be put back out on the sea. And so.
Yeah, unfortunately, that both my parents passed away last year in 2020, but right before my father passed away, we were able to have a conversation with him about selling the boat. And
all right, well, so we've got a bunch of photographs and some stories, and I, of course, being in the marine industry, we love boat stories. We love, you know, the whole where it came to be, and so, yeah.
So basically, my parents, well, without giving you the total, the total story of my parents, the King's Pride is actually the 4th boat my father has owned. There was King's Pride the 1st, which was just a Lido 14. And this is all down in Southern California, in Long Beach, California. I know when he first moved down there, it was like Pasadena, and then, so he may have sailed that out of Marina del Rey. And then the King's Pride the 2nd, fortunately, I don't remember what type of boat this is.
No, it's all right.
But it was a 21-foot sailboat, and so that was King's Pride the 2nd, and I know he sailed that to Catalina and back a few times. That was the boat he had when he met my mom.
This is where the bug really hit, probably.
Yes, I believe so.
California, warm, sailing.
Yep. He was in the U.S. Air Force, and when he got out of the Air Force, he came to California and bought his first boat. And kind of a funny story, actually. My dad was kind of, a classic dweeb. He worked in computers. He was a radar technician in the Air Force and everything. He had the horn-brimmed glasses and everything. But his adoptive mother worked for Hugh Hefner and the Playboy Mansion. And she was a seamstress, or I think something like that. And so he was able to take all the Playboy bunnies out on his boat. And so he was always, and he also had an MG car, and so he was quite popular.
I guess so. Which sounds like quite a life.
Yeah, which is quite entertaining because I've seen pictures and he was really quite nerdy. But anyway, so that was King's Pride the 2nd.
Okay.
And then King's Pride the 3rd was a Catalina 27. And they were actually able to sail that, actually their first cruise. They sailed that boat down to Mexico. Anyways, they were able to sail that down to just northern Baja. But they hit like 6 storms in 3 weeks. And my mom said, nope, we're going back.
This is it.
This is it, we're done. So they came back to San Diego, and that was their first try at cruising. And even though they got hit by lots of storms, I think they still enjoyed it.
They must have, because they got another boat.
Exactly.
Right?
So then in 1979, they saw the hull and deck at the Long Beach Boat Show of the Westsail 39 and fell in love with it. But in 1980 is when Westsail went bankrupt. And therefore they said, uh-oh, where did our boat, that was our boat, our boat. And fortunately, they found the hull and mold with P&M Worldwide in Costa Mesa, and were able to have them build them a hull and deck from that mold. So in December of they purchased it in December of 1981, and early 1982 they received the hull and deck.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was just a bare hull on deck with they had the non-skid and stuff done, but it was a bare boat. And so obviously Dad always gets good deals. So he got a nice deal on a Volvo MD-17C.
I remember that loud engine.
Yes, I
From
did
our
too.
little delivery cruise.
I did too.
But it took this boat many, many years.
It did.
So what was the timeline from until they were cruising on this boat, approximately? Because people sometimes spend their entire lives and never get out on the ocean. Your parents had some cruising before, which meant they wanted to get back out. They were motivated.
Yeah. So they bought the hull and deck, let's say beginning of 1982, right after I was born in 1980, and then they spent the next 15 years building the boat. And the reason it took them so long to do that is because it only spent about a year in the yard being worked on, and then they put it in the water because they had heard so many stories of people with backyard boats or just keeping them in yards that never get finished.
When you said 15 years, I was like, oh my gosh. But
yeah.
I see. That's similar to another. Yeah. They started using the boat within a few years.
Exactly.
That's why the Volvo went in straight away.
Exactly. The two biggest things were the Volvo engine, obviously, and starting on the Ford cabin because, they had me, a toddler. And while they were in the yard building the boat, I was in the back of a 1976 Bronco. That was my playpen. And that only lasted
We won't tell CPS. You know.
Yeah, no. That's the 80s, you know. But it only lasted as long as, basically it lasted until I learned how to use the horn to get what I wanted. So they had to get that Ford cabin started, which was going to be my cabin. And
so actually steering was another big deal.
So we got steering because you got to steer the boat, obviously.
And that's you.
That's me.
There you are.
And that's my Aunt Helen on the left there. She lived nearby and was always there helping. And then that picture is Mom sanding and getting ready for the boot stripes and the bottom and everything.
Yeah. So they did that pretty quickly, a couple of years to get in the water.
Actually, it was only a year.
That's monumental for putting in an engine and prop shaft and all of that, and bottom paint and steering and rudder.
Yeah. That was it was actually January 1982, and by December 1982, they were christening the boat.
There we are. Wow.
And
wooden cap rail. So they really, that must have been a pretty time when they put a lot of energy into getting that boat going.
And they had lots of help from lots of family and friends. My godparents, my aunt, and a bunch of other friends of theirs that all were there on weekends to help out. Both my parents worked during the week, and obviously I was later on going to school and everything, so this was a lot of weekend work. That was basically how we spent our weekends, was working on the boat.
But some cruises in between, little bits here and there?
Yeah, so my dad especially, was very big on the Parade of Lights. And so he was a computer engineer, and therefore as the boat progressed more and more, so did the lights displays. Until he actually he used a large computer he named Bert. It stood for something, I can't remember. But he synchronized the lights to music that he'd play. And he had a golfing snowman. One year he had bells and lights on this big frame, which I actually have a picture. Lights and bells on this frame that basically would play as the music played. Christmas trees. I mean, it was every year. It was a big
family tradition.
And he would spend months planning these things out. You mentioned the caprioles. Those were all done by my parents.
Yeah.
And Mom was the expert sander and varnisher, and that's how I learned how to do all that.
We have some more of that.
I'm fairly sure I have to redo all that actually. And so that's right before it's going in the water.
It's looking good. Bob Perry did a good job designing this boat.
He did.
I have to say.
He really did. It's kind of funny because whenever Monica and I are walking down the dock, I'll see a boat and I'll be like, oh, I really like the lines of that boat. It looks like the King's Pride. Well, yes, it does, and it's most likely a Bob Perry design. So here are some more. This is basically starting with the bulkheads and some of the
behind the scenes
stuff.
You gotta go into
the infamous forward tank that's been foamed in.
Yes, it's still there. We're gonna keep that forward water tank.
Yeah, that thing ain't going anywhere, is it?
Nope. That's totally good.
And then starting off on the forward cabin.
Forward cabin. That's for you, right?
That's for me.
That was their plan.
Yeah.
Which we've now made a little bigger, so it's a double.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
But when you were a teenager, what a great spot.
Exactly.
Or even a young person, young kid growing up.
Exactly.
Boat people are really good.
They really are. In fact, the way they judged me how much I was growing was by the forward cabin. So when they first started building it, I couldn't even get up that step into the bed. And then as things progressed, I could actually climb up and get up there on my own until many years, well, not many years, but I'm guessing I'm like 5 or 6, so 85, 86, I could, climb out the front.
You can actually get
out the front hatch.
You can escape.
Yeah.
Love it.
And so anyway, so then here's the mast step, the cutting out the hole for the mast.
Right.
And then
the coin, which we just reinstalled last week when we put the mast back up. It's the same original coin.
And the tale is that basically it's good luck for safety at sea kind of thing.
Safe passages, good weather, absolutely.
So had to make sure that went back in.
We're keeping all of those traditions.
Yes.
We're not jinxing the boat.
No, please don't.
New owners are gonna.
And here is the black mast going in.
You're never going to recognize the boat anymore. Well, you know the story why we painted it white.
Why?
Well, because the painter said, I can get free paint for you. I'll paint it any color you want, just like Henry Ford, as long as it's white.
Exactly. And as my father's saying was, the skipper is cheap. So the fact that you could, get free paint, I don't think he would care.
I don't think he would.
The fact that you got free means all the world.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And then my mom had, even though I know you're going to be making these smaller, my mom had always wanted deep stainless steel double sinks.
Double sink, yeah.
And so for Christmas, mid-'80s or so, she finally got her stainless steel sinks.
Yeah.
And with the mast always comes the new mainsail.
Oh yes. New sails, that's always a great time in a sailor's life.
And actually,
nice and crinkly new.
Yeah, and those were the really heavy, big 9-ounce Dacron sails.
Back in the day.
Those things, we had that same sail until like 2000. So I mean, it was a 25-year-old sail possibly.
We had a lot of miles on it, been out to sea.
But I know in 2000, somewhere like 2010, I believe that the sail that's on there right now is new.
It's still in great shape, so that's going to go back on as soon as we get the boom on and a few other projects finished. But I actually I'm pretty excited to go sail on the boat. Because when we brought it up here, there was zero wind.
I know. So that is
the chart table, nav station being mocked up.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
And then we have the stove and galley going in. Mom's domain.
Yeah. Nice propane.
Yep, big old Force 10. They were very proud of that.
Hey, you got it.
And you know how many Thanksgivings and Christmases and all this were made in that stove? It was Mom. For Thanksgiving we went to Catalina a lot, and she would, we'd leave in the morning, and we'd find the smallest turkey we could, and
that would fit in there.
Go in. It was a gimbaled stove, so it would go right on in and cook while we were heading over to the island.
Awesome.
And then the head.
The head, with a little sit-down shower sink, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I can see that's still before the overhead was in.
Yeah. And then Dad was very proud of his double door, or whatever you want. Basically, it was a door to the forward cabin, but also swung. To the bathroom.
Right. So dual purpose.
Dual purpose.
Everything on a boat should have two purposes.
But he was so excited about making that work. And he spent weeks coming up with different ideas for angles in some of the overhead supports,
the joinery, and
the
supports
joinery.
and all that, yeah.
He knew how to use CAD, and so a lot of this stuff was all done through CAD. And then he would draw it up in that, and then actually cut it out.
And all of the woodwork up in here he did a good job.
Yeah.
None of it fell
Yeah.
out because we're still, most of it is all is headed down the road again. So other than those chain plates.
Yeah, chain plates needed to be done. I totally agree.
But that's just safety stuff. So.
Yeah. And then he designed the handrails. My mom was only like 5'4", maybe 5'6" at the tallest. And so she wanted handrails lower.
Lower and down the sides.
Exactly.
Those actually are great. They work good.
So he made sure to put those in.
I think we're going to bring those into the paint booth and revarnish before we
that's a good idea.
install them in the boat. Because we had to take them out to get those chain plates.
You're right.
So.
Yep. No, that's a good idea. Then
Settee
just settee.
going in.
He did a great job with the pull-out,
The
slide
out little, I don't know what you call that, berth.
Settee berth. Yes, side berth.
Yeah.
That one
Still works.
It does.
Slides
And it is
in and
enough
out.
to sleep 2 people. So, Mom, and initially she did all the covers for the sails.
Sail covers and all
winch
that.
covers and all those.
This is like the classic cruising family. Everybody does something.
Exactly.
And the project comes together and
the boat. They put in cedar lining in the closets.
It's still there.
It's very classy.
Yes. Smells good.
I went in there the other day and I was like, "Did you guys replace the cedar lining?" And I'm like, "No, that's the original stuff."
Yeah.
But most importantly, I was always there to be able to help. So when we did a lot of all the little plugs and the teak bulkheads and stuff like that, I was the plug master.
You were the plug master?
I was the plug master. I got to drill out and make all the plugs. And then I also got to help my mom with sanding and varnishing.
Yeah, see, that was a skill you learned as a young
Exactly.
lady. Look at that. How cool.
I was also a monkey, climbed everywhere.
Climbed everywhere. And there's the name. We're going to get
Yep.
we're going to have it redone and
Cool.
the same as it is. We'll take a picture down at the sign shop and we'll probably change Long Beach out the Anacortes.
I actually had wanted to. It was going to be a Father's Day gift one year, but I never got it done. But yeah, I wanted to always get the name repainted and then put Anacortes on it. I forgot about that one. That's the bulkheads being glassed in. That's about the only glass work they did.
Yeah.
Was making those bulkheads.
Sure, there's a few bulkheads, but like
where the chain plates are attached to. And they discovered really quickly that they don't like fiberglassing.
Yeah, right.
So they did that, and that was about it.
Not a lot of people really enjoy fiberglass work.
No.
Makes it hard to be on board the boat with the smell.
Yeah, kind of so. Let's see. Oh. That's actually the one of the lights.
One
the
of the
musical
big
notes
frameworks
and all
and
the
the lights that went up onto the boat.
And there was always time for partying with friends.
Yeah, friends and family.
Yeah, especially Christmas, 4th of July.
Head it out. Look at all those lights. Looks like every railing.
Yeah, every railing had garlanded lights on it. They either went down to Alamitos Bay or they did Shoreline Marina down there in Long Beach, and it was always fun. In fact, for those that are familiar with Long Beach, there's Alamitos Bay Marina, and in that marina there's a bunch of canals, and like the little nowadays everybody has these electric Duffy boats and stuff that they use to go around. Well, the entrance to the canals was deep enough because people had private boats in there. And Dad always took the King's Pride down this entrance channel, and then right where there's like a little turning basin, he would turn the boat and come back out, and it always got so many looks from people walking along the canals.
All the lights and the music and how fun!
Really fun one. My grandpa, so my grandpa was a big channel surfer with remote controls and TV. And so we had an autopilot that had a remote control. And so one day we're off the coast, just the coast of downtown Long Beach there, and we're all down below, and we put Grandpa in charge of sailing, and well, he's used to instant changing, right, with the
Right,
remote.
yeah.
And so all of a sudden we start turning. Next thing we know, we're doing 360s out in the middle of the bay because Grandpa's sitting there going, "Why won't it turn?"
With the remote.
Wasn't turning fast enough for him.
Nice.
So he always loved going on the boat. There's one more of me helping my mom. And yeah, so then basically, yeah, we got the forward cabin. You know, the galley I think was next. I know then they did the aft cabin. And the salon was more or less one of the last things to be done.
When did they put the rig on? That
The
was
rig
fairly
was
early on?
probably like 83.
83.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw we got the picture of cutting the hole. So they had the rig on, and then...
Yeah. Yeah, the engine was like 82, and then 83 or 84 was the rig. You know, early 90s came about, and obviously the boat started being used more, going to Catalina because it was more livable. And
so regular usage and lots of fun, and
especially
lots of
during the summer. During the summer, it was primarily we spent a lot of time over Catalina Island. We did the Channel Islands several times. We'd take in the summer. We'd go like 2-3 weeks and go up to the Channel Islands.
And this when you were like middle school, high school?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, dolphins.
Dolphins. I had always wanted to be a marine biologist. I fix boats now. But love dolphins, seals, everything. Actually got my degree in marine biology. Yeah, they have a picture of me. I'll have to find that picture for you. They have a picture of me on King's Pride III. It was my first trip to Catalina, and I had the biggest chubby cheeks hanging down as I was looking at all the Garibaldis and fish underneath the boat.
Under the little aquarium that you can see.
Yeah, Mom and her galley. I think that was probably one of the first times she got to use the new Force 10 stove.
So yeah, cooking some bacon bread and.
So yeah, then we always like to take out just different guests. This is kind of a fun story. The dad met this guy. I knew him as Neptune. I think his last name was Peterson. I don't remember his first name, unfortunately, but we took him out on the boat several times, and this guy just fell in love with sailing. He was a young, maybe in his 30s or so, and many years later, basically 1995, 96, I was down in Mexico on the boat. That was my parents, and I was sitting in La Paz at the dock restaurant at the marina there, taking my Spanish lessons from my Spanish tutor. And of course there was a TV playing, and so I spent most of my time watching the TV. Don't tell my Spanish tutor that. But anyways,
all of a sudden, learning Spanish.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Too bad it was all ESPN.
Oh.
But that was when one of the first, but one of the Around Alone was now the Vendée Globe, but it was called the Around Alone race was going on. And all of a sudden I see this gentleman come up, and I'm like, God, he looks familiar. Turns out this was Neptune.
Wow.
He had a dream of sailing around the world that was started by my dad.
On King's Pride.
And he ended up getting the funding to do the Around Alone race. He did it the first time I think he dismasted and down by South Africa. I think he was from South Africa, if I remember correctly. And I don't remember this. He did it 2 times, and he may have made it that second time.
Wow.
But so that was just a small world type thing.
Yeah.
We're like, wow, that
Paying
was
it forward.
Dad did it. He got him to do that. And here's some other underway pictures.
Well, this is done. The little skiff, the dinghy on deck. And
that's over at Catalina.
Nice.
One time Dad had some professional photography done.
Wow,
the boat underway.
Boat underway. Cool.
So all of this boat being built was basically to fulfill my parents' dream of going cruising.
Cruising and living on the boat and doing the whole thing, which they did.
Exactly. At some point, you've got to say, let's go. And 1995, 96 is when we decided to let's go. My parents had either gotten laid off or my dad had run his own business for a long time, and so it was slowing down. So he said, let's go.
Wow.
And even though, I mean, the boat was mostly done, what boat is ever finished? Let's face it.
Yeah, no, there's still.
Yeah, there's always something to do.
By the way, when we sell this boat, it's not going to be finished.
No,
there will be work to be
sorry,
done.
no.
But what great stories in cruising.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
family photographs, a story. I mean, boats have soul, right? This
Yeah,
is
they do.
So cool.
They do.
I think we should probably do another one of these
Yeah.
little chats and talk about the cruising and some of the
definitely.
places the boat went and all of your adventures.
Definitely. The cruise in the mid-90s is basically what defined my life. So it's like when I remember things, it's before cruise and after cruise. You know? So definitely we'll get to that story next time, and I've got lots of pictures for that.
Great. Well, and you're following along, so helping us out, and
I am.
we'll
We got to put the transducers in.
transducers,
And
the
the
wind
swinner,
instruments
the winners,
up. We got to
yeah,
hook up
the display.
The display.
Make a
And,
NEMA 2000 network.
yeah.
And yeah.
And then we're gonna put the boat in the water, and I think
Yep.
another cruise is in your future.
A sea trial cruise, right?
I think so. Some of the Skagit Valley staff have to make sure that the boat's ready to go.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming in.
No problem.
We'll get episode 2 about
Yeah.
cruising on King's Pride
Exactly.
coming out very soon.
Sounds good.